willing to do the input. Now, so as we look at our concept of be, do, have, identity, activity, and property, there is a gap in each of these, and the gap is our potential. And so that gap kind of looks like this. If this were our potential, these little circles are our potential, and this is, we're maxed out being all we can be. This is, we're minimized out, we're being nothing we can be. So we got our minimum potential, our maximum potential, our maximum potential, our minimum potential in be, do, and have. And most of us, when it comes to our beingness, we are, most of us are right here, and we feel like we're right here. Right. So there's a big gap between where we are and where we think we are, and there's definitely a big gap between where we are and where we could be. By the way, there is no eliminating that gap, because what happens is, as you fill in the gap, your capacity gets bigger. So that's why growth, that's why personal development is perpetual, never-ending growth. Because you can always be becoming, but you can never become. Does that make sense? You can always be becoming, but you can never become. What does that mean? That means you can never become there, because there's no there there. The journey itself is the destination. You can always be, there's always room for growth. That's what I'm saying. There's always room for growth. And so the question is, if there's a gap in my identity, in other words, there's a difference between who I think I am and who God knows I am, the question then becomes, how do I fill that gap? How do I fill the gap in my identity? And the way I fill the gap in my identity is through a concept I call intentionality. Intentionality. What's intentionality? It's I am producing with a purpose. Right? I'm moving with meaning. Like, I'm acting out of awareness. I'm not just doing something. I'm not doing the next thing that comes up. I'm not a squirrel. Right? And suddenly he ran off in every direction at the same time. No! I have to become hyper-intentional. I believe that the number one discriminating factor between people who succeed and people who fail, like the distinction, that's a better word than discriminating factor. The number one distinction between people who succeed and people who fail, people who succeed in any arena of life, it doesn't matter if it's sports, it doesn't matter if it's medicine, if it's science, if it's math, if it's education, if it's speaking, if it's singing, it doesn't matter. Business, the number one distinction between people who live on the struggle bus, like they've turned the struggle bus into a motorhome, and people who succeed in a way that seems effortless to those who are outside looking in, is people who succeed. And by the way, let me give you a definition of success. I discovered God's purpose for my life, I developed myself for that purpose, and I deploy myself in that purpose. People who succeed hyper-focus on intention and ignore distraction like it doesn't exist. But people who live on the struggle bus, they hyper-focus on distraction and ignore intention. Most of the things people who live on the struggle bus focus on most of the time are things that do not move the needle in their favor. So let me define intention and distraction. Intention is anything that I focus on that moves the needle in my favor, that moves the needle in the favor of my purpose, that moves the needle in the favor of my productivity, that moves the needle in the favor of my personal development, that moves the needle in the favor of my profit. Anything that I focus on that moves the needle in my favor, that is intention. Anything that I focus on that does not move the needle in my favor is a distraction. Now, we all have some distraction. Sometimes we have to take seasons where we decompress, right? And what usually happens is we're focused on something different that doesn't matter as much. It's so interesting to me that the Bible says that bodily exercise profiteth little.
I dare you to let me build you a completely free e-commerce store preloaded with 20 handpicked products that are trending all over the world, basically validated by AI from a trending product database from one of the top vendors on the planet. And the reason that we can do this completely free for you is because, well, Shopify is paying me to do it. You've probably seen me before because for the last year, Shopify has loved the AI paired software that we built so much that they've been paying me to build people just like you, complete beginners, a completely free store. Now, again, it's free for you, right? Shopify is paying me a commission to do it. And if you don't keep your store for more than 90 days, I don't even get paid. But your store is still free, right? And after 90 days, it's still your store. I don't own a percentage of the store. I don't control the store. It's yours. You can delete products from it, add new products to it, all that good stuff. It's your store, okay? Not only that, I'm going to give you my courses completely free. I'm not going to try to upsell you a bunch of courses. I know you've seen gurus trying to sell courses for $1,000, $2,000, so on and so forth. I can afford to give you my courses for free because, again, Shopify pays me when you use this software and open up a Shopify store. So you get a free store, right? I get a commission from Shopify.
It doesn't say profit is nothing. People like, by the exercise, profit is little. I'm not going to take care of my body because by the exercise, only profit is little. No, it profiteth little. But it doesn't mean it doesn't profit. And by the way, it gives you the energy, physically, it gives you the energy and physical bandwidth to do all the other things that are important, that are more important. Okay, cool. You are with me. So I fill the gap with intentionality. The more intentional I become about becoming more than I've been being. Byron, what does becoming more mean? It actually means becoming more like the God whose image you're made in. That's really what it means. That's what becoming more actually means. I'm becoming more like God. In fact, if you look at the Hebrew word for man, and when I say the Hebrew word for man, I mean the word Adam, which speaks about men and women, right? Aleph, Daled, Mem. The letter Aleph represents God. The letters Daled, Mem spell the word blood. We know the life of the flesh is in the blood, so we're looking at flesh and blood. Right? So what I'm doing when I'm becoming more is I'm making sure the flesh and blood part of me is yielded to the God part of me. And I make sure that the flesh and blood part of me is moving in more in this direction than having the God part of me move in that direction. Becoming, in fact, one of the words, so Hebrew words don't have vowels. So that word could be Adam, it could be Adamah, it could be Adameh, depending on the accents that you put under those letters, right? And so the word Adameh means I will compare myself or I will become like. And the purpose of being a human is to be becoming more like God. Okay. So all of my activity, here's the thing. If I resolve that I want to have this so much that I am willing to do more of this right here, if I put more energy in this right here and nothing changes, it's because I've ignored this down here. Are y'all tracking? And so what happens is your attempts to do more without becoming more equals frustration. It equals confusion. Like people who live a life of frustration, confusion, it makes you start flip-flopping all the time. Okay, I tried that, it didn't work. I tried this, it didn't work. I tried that, it didn't work. Try that. The reason this happens is because you think that the way you fix doing is by doing something different. But the way you fix your doingness, like the things you know you ought to be doing but you're not doing, the way you fix that is not by forcing yourself to do them, it's by becoming the person who that's what they do. Y'all tracking?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna cover that in a minute if y'all let me. Can y'all listen a little faster, please? Okay. So once I increase through intentionality my ability to become, I become more. What happens is I fill in this gap, but there's still a gap here. And the gap here is still pretty big until I start taking action. But when I start taking action, right, When I start taking action, I set an intention to start acting on some new activities. What happens? What's the first thing that shows up? Disruption. Disruption always follows intention. So what happens is I just begin to take a new action because I become more of me, and I start taking a new action, and what happens when I take that new action is disruption follows intention, and it's like, when I first start working on anything, usually, if it's the more important it is, the more true this is, okay? When I start working on something new, the first work it does is on me, but it doesn't usually work for me out of the gate. Because the doing of the thing, as I start filling the gap here, how do I start increasing the gap because I've become more, I've increased my tenacity down here, my tenacity, because I know it's mine. It's like David wasn't worried about Goliath because he was anointed to be the king, but he was still a shepherd. So he knew he had not yet fulfilled his destiny. He knew Goliath couldn't hurt him because his purpose had not yet been fulfilled. Are y'all tracking? And so Joseph had the perspective that the things his brothers did to him, the things Potiphar's wife did to him, the fact that he was in prison, what you meant for evil, God meant for good. Right? That was a part of his becomingness. All that was part of his becomingness. But what happened? We fill the gap in our activity through a concept that's called ingenuity. What's ingenuity? I keep on refining my approach. Every time I do something and it doesn't work for me, it works on me. When it's working on me, here's what's saying. What the things that are working on me are saying, Myron, change your approach.
Over 8,000 men have permanently broken free from the P word by watching one single video training that you can actually watch by clicking the link below. But I want to give you 2 reasons why you should not watch that video right now. Number 1 is it's going to start a journey into arguably the hardest thing that you've ever done in your entire life, because that video training is going to cause you to face all of your darkness and all of your pain in the face and move into it to solve your real deeper root issue that's creating the symptom of a resist fail cycle and an unwanted behavior and an unwanted desire. And so if you would rather take the easy way out and add on blockers and accountability apps and go to groups every week or throw a verse on it or pray a little bit more, you can continue to do that, or you could click the link below and watch that video and actually face this problem in the face and do the hard work that it really requires to permanently break free from this at the root. Number 2, this video training is not short, it's not sweet, it's really extensive, and you're gonna have a page full of notes coming out of it. So if you're expecting to just be entertained for 60 minutes, this is not a video training for you. But if you wanna dive into the deep work that over 8,000 men have done just like you to permanently break free from this at the root, you wanna get out a notebook and you wanna take a page full of notes and you wanna actually get real answers to the problem that you've been having for who knows how long, then I want you to click the link below and watch that video, or you can continue going doing all of the stuff that has not worked to this point. And so I think that we can both agree that this probably was not placed in front of you by coincidence. Maybe you appreciate me being confrontational and addressing this in a really straight up manner, or maybe you'd like some people to kind of dance around the bush and lighten things up and make things happy clappy and all that stuff. Or if you want to join a group of guys like us that have actually gotten real results, the account of over 8,000 success stories inside of Unchained Leader, click the link below and you can see the exact same training that started the journey to freedom for every single one of the people that have come through our program. The cool thing is when you click on that link, I know that it's kind of hard to believe. I remember when I was struggling, it was hard to believe that it was even possible to break through and free from this. The first 5 minutes of that video is actually created by our clients for you. And so you're gonna hear their words, not mine. They wanted to get together and film a message for you because they understand what it felt like to see a video like this when they were struggling and to be skeptical and to not really believe if it's even possible to break free. If anybody's ever done this, you're gonna see a video of me doing a Zoom interview with them and then talking about their journey of seeing an ad like this, watching the video, and then taking next steps towards freedom. You're gonna be able to see what their life is like now, a year, 2 years, 3 years down the road, from making a decision very similar to this of clicking a link, registering, and watching a really simple.
Now you know what people ask me all the time, like, Myron, you talk about how the fact that you went 18 months without making a sale when you first got started in sales, and then all of a sudden when you made your first sale, within months you became the top salesperson in your office, month after month after month after month after month. What happened? What was the difference? Well, the difference was I ran out of all the ways that wouldn't work to make a sale. All I had left were ways that would. And see, most people don't go through enough iterations of anything to discover the thing that would work. They attempt this thing, that thing, that thing, and they say, well, that didn't work. I think I'll go become somebody different and do something else. Wrong answer, but we do have some nice consolation prizes for you in the back. Actually, we don't. And then lastly, as I'm becoming more, and then I increase my capacity, and I begin doing more, there's still a gap in my property. And I don't know if you have. Yeah, I'm sure you do. You know how you think about multiple things at the same time that are going in the same direction? Does that concept make sense? Okay. So what happens is, like, when you start working on your becomingness gets some momentum, right? But your activity has either inertia or negative momentum. And your property, because you've been like living in lack for so long, and that's not me condescending. I lived in lack for a very long time, unnecessarily. So I either had inertia or I had negative momentum. And so what happens if you have inertia, in other words, you're not doing terrible, but you're not getting any better. You have inertia. An object at rest will remain at rest unless it's acted upon by an outside force, right? But if your life is getting worse incrementally or exponentially, you have negative momentum. And so the outside force that impacts your activity is your beingness. You becoming the person is the force. You're going this way, this is going this way or standing still. When this hits this, it doesn't move it a lot initially, it just moves it a little. And you have to keep on attempting a new approach with ingenuity, and then all of a sudden you got momentum in your identity and you got momentum in your activity. And eventually, I like what my good friend Kenny Grant says. What does he say? Myron, I'm going to tell you something. Eventually, he's undefeated. Right? So eventually, what happens is your property changes directions. And once when you have like a gap in your property and you say, okay, I'd like this property to increase, you do that through intensity. This is how to be the best of the best. This is how you become the best. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be a sport, it could be business, it could be singing, it could be musical instruments, it could be languages, it could be whatever. This is how you become the best. There are very few people in the world who have decided, I am going to be the best who ever played this game. I don't want to be the best so I can be better than other people. I want to be best. I want to be the best so I can be better than I've ever been. Perpetually. That's the point. And if we will apply these principles to our lives, we can be the best of the best. I hope that video helps you. Stay blessed by the best and utilize this by becoming more than you've been being. Thanks for watching.
Have you ever heard an old song that you really want to sample?
And until you hate like being broke and having to rob Peter to pay Paul, until there's a knock on the door one day and it's Peter and Paul and they're both there standing with their hands out talking about, I want my money today. Right? If you're tired of living like that, I got tired of living like that. I got tired of living a life where I made this beautiful woman all these great promises, and now here she is, 8 months pregnant with our first child, and our electricity and our water are both disconnected. Not because I wasn't willing to work hard, I was working hard, but what I was working on wasn't working for me. It was working on me, but it wasn't working for me. And I got tired of having to tell my children no before I even knew what the question was, because I knew we didn't have enough money to buy it. I got tired. I hated the fact that when we got ready to go on vacation, after working hard for a whole year, we're going to take a 2-week vacation. We're going to take 2 days and drive from Pennsylvania to Florida, because we lived in Pennsylvania at the time. My wife's parents lived in Florida. I said Pennsylvania to Florida. Pennsylvania to Texas. My wife's parents lived in Texas. We drive for 2 days to spend 10 days with our in-laws, and then drive for 2 days to get back home. I hated that that's what vacation was. Vacation wasn't going to Hawaii. It wasn't going to Greece. It wasn't going to Israel. It wasn't going to Europe or going to Mexico or going to Canada and spending the day, spending a week in Banff. It was just like you go and you work on vacation so you can spend time with your family because there's no other time you can. I hated it. I hated it. I hated everything about it. I hated the fact that the 4 months of my married life that I was on welfare, yes, I was on welfare for 4 months. I hated when I was sitting in that welfare office and that woman said to my wife, she said, you know, we could give you more money if he wasn't in the house. First of all, he has a name. Second of all, it's not the house, it's our house. You see how I got an attitude. You say, why? Because I hate poverty. I hate what it does to people. I hate that poverty forces people to eat junk food because they can't afford real food. I hate the fact that poverty causes people to drive raggedy cars that cause them to get in accidents because they can't afford a car that'll keep them safe. I hate poverty. And until you hate poverty, you will not beat it far away from the door enough that you don't have to deal with it anymore. So you have to hate poverty. That's like you want to escape the poverty program trap? Like develop a disgust with being broke. Develop a disgust with not having enough money. Like the love of money is the root of all evil. That's right. The love of money is the root of all evil. But you don't even know what that verse means. Like people who quote it to me on YouTube, it literally makes me chuckle every time I read it. Money's the root of all evil. First of all, it doesn't say that. It says the love of money is the root of all evil. Myron, it does say love money. It does say love money is the root of all evil. But the key word in that verse is the word all, which means all types, all manner, all kinds. It does not mean all, every single solitary. The love of money is clearly not the root of every single solitary evil in the world. Like, think about it. It can't be. If that were the case, Adam and Eve would have eaten the fruit because the serpent paid them. The love of money is not the root of every single solitary evil. The love of money is the root of all types, all kinds, all manner of evil. What does it mean? The love of money is the root of all evil means people will do all types of things if they love money, right? For the love of money, people will sell drugs to children. For the love of money, pharmaceutical companies will sell drugs to the population that they know will harm them. For the love of money, cigarette companies will sell tobacco. The love of money is the root of all types, all kinds, all manner of evil. That's what it means. So if you want to quote it in its context with its definitions and understand what you're talking about. Anyway, I hate poverty. I hate it. I loathe it. It's disgusting to me. I hate what it does to people. I hate what it does to families. I hate the arguments that it causes between husbands and wives and the arguments that it causes between children and parents. And I hate the fact that there are people living in the dark right now because they don't have money. There are people living under a bridge because they don't have money. Like, at some place, at some point in their life, they did not hate poverty enough to beat it away from the door.
Look, you're not actually going to get anything done by watching another YouTube video. In fact, you're literally only procrastinating more. What you need is something I like to call a GYST week. That stands for Get Your Together Week. Because let's face it, you need to. All right, so what does it actually look like to dedicate an entire week to just tackling everything that we've procrastinated in one fell swoop? That means finances, folding laundry, calling your mom back, personal projects, you name it. Life would be so much easier if we could just get everything done and out of the way for good. Does all that sound overwhelming? It's because it probably is. But here's the secret. It doesn't have to be. Just schedule all of your tasks into a GYST week. All I do is take like 8 minutes at the beginning of my week to brain dump.
And I hate it that much. Like, I really hate poverty. I hate inconvenience. I hate being hassled. And like, for instance, like when I fly, I only fly on private jets. People think I'm flexing. I'm not flexing. I just hate TSA. I hate it. It's so stupid. It's like they find the dumbest people in the world and they give them this job. And they wanted to be a CIA agent, and they couldn't pass the test, so they could be a TSA agent, and they think they're a CIA agent, and they think they're saving the world from me because I have a brace on my leg. Oh, well, no, we got to take you in the back room, and we have to scan, we have to see the top of the... Like, no, you don't. I go through TSA all the time, and I'm TSA free. And it doesn't matter. If one wants to flex, if a TSA agent wants to flex, there's nothing you can do. You have no recourse. I hate that. So I fly private, so I don't have to go through that. I hate the fact that, like, the airports lose your luggage. If you miss your flight, flat out of luck. But if they cancel your flight, you're still flat out of luck. I hate it. So I'm going to make enough money so that poverty doesn't impact me in negative ways because I hate it. When you hate poverty, like, I love having a choice. Money gives me choices. Myron, do you love money? I love having a choice, and I hate poverty. What do I mean when I say hate poverty and hate poverty's partners? What are poverty's partners? Poverty has a lot of partners. I'm going to name 4 partners that poverty has. I'm going to name 4 partners of poverty that you have to hate, and you have to hate them enough to keep them away from you, far enough away from you, so they don't rob you of all your chances. So the first one that I'm going to name is sleep, and I'm going to put sleep/laziness. The Bible says, love not sleep. This is what it says. Love not sleep, lest thou come to poverty. So people, oh, you love sleep. I don't love sleep. I sleep because it's essential. I like the way sleeping makes me feel. I like the way it makes me feel. I like feeling rested more than I like feeling tired, but I don't love sleep. Sleep is not an objective in itself. It's an objective for an objective. And that objective is to be rested enough to go out and create something that other people value enough to pay me for it, so I can live my life without being in poverty, because I hate poverty. I know I've said that a bunch of times, but I'm emphasizing that because I am telling you, until you get to the point where you hate poverty, like when I was poor, I hated poverty enough not to watch the electronic income reducer. What's that? Television. For some people now, it's their smartphones, right? I hated poverty enough not to watch television. I'm not going to watch other people live their dreams while I'm living a nightmare, right? I hated it. I hated poverty enough. Like, my daughter was a teenager. She's the youngest. She was a teenager when we had a television, like with channels. She was probably 14, 15, 16 years old before we had a television. Why? Because I finally felt like I was making enough money where I could afford to watch television. I wasn't going to watch it while I was broke. Why? Because I hated laziness. I hate sleep. So sleep, that's 1. 2, gluttony. I don't even know how to spell gluttony. So we're just going to, I probably didn't spell it right. Gluttony.
Ba-bum. Hi, I'm Burke, a small business insurance expert from Burke.
You spell it. I can't believe this. He's doing a YouTube video. He didn't even spell check. Good. When you do your YouTube videos, spell check. I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. See, you hate misspelled words. I hate poverty. Like, everybody has their thing they hate. It's okay. Be yourself, okay? So gluttony. What do I mean? Like, gluttony is a poverty programming trap. Here's what the scripture says. The drunkard and the glutton shall lie down together, and drowsiness will clothe the man with rags. It says, woe, the scripture says, woe unto you, O land, when your princes eat, when your king is a child. Woe unto you, O land, when your king is a child, and when your princes eat in the morning for drunkenness and not for strength. So the scripture says we should, like, gluttony, like eating too much. Why? Because when you eat too much, you don't have enough energy to go out and fight poverty away from your doorstep. Right? So gluttony, okay? Drunkenness. So drunkenness is also like, yeah, but Myron, you don't understand. I just need a drink after work because I'm just so stressed out. I submit to you that maybe you're stressed out because you're broke. And your needing a drink is keeping you broke. Now, personally, I quit drinking when I was 11. And now, as an adult, I don't have any brain cells to sacrifice on the altar of I'm stressed out. I'm not going to do it. Why? Because I don't want to be broke. We could call all of these partners of poverty, we could call them the partners of poverty called self-indulgence. Self-indulgence. Self-indulgence creates poverty. Isn't that fascinating? What creates wealth? Service to other people. Remember, I did a video on money is not wealth. If you want to see a video that would really explain what I'm talking about right now, it's called Money is Not Wealth. Money is not wealth. What's wealth? Wealth is your ability to create value for someone other than you. That's your wealth. And the greater your ability is to create a greater value for a greater number of people, the wealthier you are.
So I said to him, no, Nigel, not without the brie.
Indubitably.
And you are?
Oh, don't worry, I'm basically one of you now.
How did you get in here?
So, self-indulgence leads to poverty. Now, there's another one. Are you ready? Can you handle it? Number 4, evil. Evil is a poverty programming trap. Why? Because poverty is the result of spiritual warfare. Satan is a god of lack. Y'all, the thief cometh not but for to steal, to kill, to destroy. If somebody kills, steals, or destroys, guess what you have? Less. Lack is the result of the enemy. Jesus said, but I am come that you might have life and that you might have it more abundantly. Okay, so let's look at this. What does the scripture say? What does the scripture refer to the devil as? That old serpent, the devil. Right? The old serpent, that old serpent, the devil. What old serpent? The old serpent from way back in the Garden of Eden. What did he do? He deceived Eve by getting her to focus on the thing she lacked, and her giving focus and attention and intention to the thing she lacked caused her to lose all the stuff she had. They had the abundance of every tree of the garden thou mayest freely eat. They had the abundance of every freely. The serpent said unto the woman, yea, hath God said, ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden? So he took out the word freely, added the word not, changed the meaning. The woman then took out the word freely and every. She said, we may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the trees in the midst of the garden we shall not eat it, neither shall we touch it, lest we die. Satan said, ye shall not surely die, but God doth know the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes will be open, and you shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, do y'all see what just happened? Satan's got her attention on what was missing. And as soon as he got her attention on what was missing, then she set her intention on that thing that she had no right to, and that thing caused her to lose everything she had. Interestingly enough, in the Hebrew language, the word for rich, like when it says, and Abram was very rich in cattle and silver and gold, it's the word assure. Now, that's the word for rich. It's assure. But did you know that in Hebrew, oftentimes, when you're spelling a word one way, it means one thing, but if you spell it backwards, it means the opposite. Isn't that cool? Isn't that such a cool language? Right? Okay. So here's what's really interesting about the word assure. If you spell it backwards, rasha. If you spell it backwards, it means the opposite of poor. The opposite of rich, and the opposite of rich would be poor. That's what you think, right? But it doesn't mean poor. The opposite of poor, rasha, or even rasha or rush, or rasha or rosh means evil. Wow. The opposite of rich is evil? What does that mean? Here's what it means. It doesn't mean poor people are evil. Here's what it means. It means the implication is that societies that practice evil have always been, throughout human history, I want you to think about this, have always been poor societies. Think about that. Think about the poverty of the Soviet Union, the anti-God Soviet Union. Think about the poverty that's associated with the witchcraft of a place like Haiti. All I'm saying is evil creates poverty. And so, if you're going to hate, if you want to escape the poverty programming trap, you have to hate. You have to hate poverty and its partners, and then you have to fall in love with the partners of prosperity. What are the partners of prosperity? Partners of prosperity are diligence. It's working like hard. The hand of the diligent maketh rich, but the slothful shall be under tribute. Right? You got to fall in love with serving other people. Serving others. Do you realize all of the money that you desire right now that you don't have, it's in somebody else's pocket? They'd happily hand it over if you could provide something to them that they desired more than they desired the money. How cool is that? See, your biggest problem is your biggest problem is you only think about solving your own problems. I think about solving other people's problems. Like, I obsess over other people's problems. So when you fall in love with the partners of diligence, you can be diligent, okay? You can be wealthy. How about this? This is one of my favorites. Business. Business is one of the partners of prosperity. Here's what it says in the New Testament. And that you study, this is 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verse 11 and 12. It says, and that you study to be quiet and to do your own business.
Stop buying courses, but first things first. Let me build your store free today and then give you my courses completely free. Now, I have an AI store builder that we've created that we've been using with Shopify now for about 2 years. And they pay me to let you use it free. It's going to build you an incredible store preloaded with 20 hot trending products that are yours to start selling, right? And I'm going to give you my courses completely free. No upsell funnel and all of that stuff. It's just a store that is built, that is optimized, that's ready to go, that is 100% yours. I don't own any of it. I don't take any of the sales. And Shopify pays me a commission. I'm awarded the most innovative commerce coach in the world by Shopify. They believe that I'm one of the best at not only building the stores, but teaching you how to use them. And that's why I have this deal. I don't have to sell you anything. Shopify is going to pay me. And here's the thing, if I don't perform 90 days from now, if you cancel your store, Shopify doesn't even pay me. You have to keep your store for 90 days for me to get paid. I'm highly incentivized to help you win with this store. And again, my services are free. All you have to do is simply sign up for a Shopify account. I can't get your Shopify account for you. And then go to the next page. You'll create a free account with our store builder. It'll ask you 2 or 3 questions like,